to take our milk and measure that out into the measuring cup. It'll be 3/4 cup. I've chosen unsweet almond milk, but you can choose any kind of plant milk that you like or just regular milk. And next we're going to add something acidic to it to make it sour. I'm going to add some apple cider vinegar to it. It's going to be 1.5 teaspoons. You could choose any kind of vinegar or lemon juice if you like. Stir it really well together, and then we're going to set it to the side.
Let that sit for a few minutes while we measure our dry ingredients. We're going to get 2.5 cups of flour. Whoops, that's a little bit over. I'll make the next one a little bit less. And then 1/2 cup. And we're going to leave our flour out because we'll need to use it to roll the biscuits out. Then we have our baking powder. We'll do a tablespoon of that. And we have our salt. Do a teaspoon of that. Go down to the very bottom. So that'd be 1/3 of your tablespoon would equal 1 teaspoon. And then we have sugar in our sugar bowl, and I'm going to use a tablespoon of that. And I didn't have it in the picture, but I'm going to add a little bit of baking soda. We're just going to put 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda in, and it will interact with the vinegar that's been mixed in the plant milk. So then we have our pastry blender, and we'll just mix together the dry ingredients. Then I've got 5 tablespoons of plant-based butter, or you could use Crisco, and if you're not vegan, you could use regular butter. And there's my oven. It's just beeping. I have preheated it to 425. Then we're going to take our pastry blender and just cut that butter in until the mixture resembles coarse flour, maybe with pea-sized chunks of flour. If you don't have a pastry blender, you can take 2 knives and do them crossways like this. Yeah, this just takes a few minutes to get the butter all cut in, and you can kind of see the butter has gotten down into small little pea size. Then we're going to take our plant milk that's been sitting with the vinegar in it just to curdle it or sour it a little bit. You could also use lemon juice instead of vinegar. We're going to add that to the dry. We want it to come together maybe with a few bits of dry flour in the bottom. We don't want it to be terribly sticky, and if it is, we will add a little more flour. And if it's a little too dry, we'll add a little bit more of the plant milk. We want it to start holding together in kind of a soft, a little bit flaky ball. You see that how it's come together in a ball, but there's still a few flour bits in the bottom. Edge there. Let's use our spatula and get the last bits. And then what I do is I just kind of knead it together in the bowl before I put it out on the surface. So you can kind of see how there's a few bits of dry flour in the bottom. It hasn't all come together. It's kind of a shaggy ball. Just gonna knead it a little bit until the ball all comes together and we've kind of picked up all those shaggy bits of flour. And I can kind of tell the texture from it in my hand. I can tell it's a teeny bit moist, more than what I would like. But that's gonna it's gonna dry out more when I add some flour to the surface. So here we have our ball. I'm just gonna reach in and get some flour and spread it on our surface. There, I'm gonna take it out of the bowl, and our bowl should be pretty clean. We've got all those little bits rolled into the biscuit dough. And this isn't a huge batch. This will just be for Brian and myself. We'll have enough for dinner and then probably some left over for tomorrow. Then I'm gonna sing the song I always sing when I make these. That's what I taught my kids. So it goes like this when you're kneading. Mama's little baby likes shortening. Mama's little babies like shortening bread. Mama's little babies like shortening. Mama's little babies like shortening bread. Put on the skillet, put on the lid. Mama's gonna make us some shortening bread. And that ain't all she's gonna do. Mama's gonna make us some coffee too. Mama's little babies like shortening. Mama's little babies like shortening bread. Mama's little babies like shortening. Mama's little babies like shortening bread. Okay, and then it should be done once you've sang the song through, one fold. And then you could roll it out with a rolling pin if you want to. I just like to pat it out by hand. And we're going to keep it pretty thick. You can see it's pretty thick there. We're not going to get it down too thin. And it's not going to make a whole lot of biscuits because I'm going to use a bit of a bigger jar to cut them for the glass. Now if you want small biscuits, use a glass with that diameter. If you want larger biscuits, choose a glass with a bigger diameter. Or if you have a biscuit cutter, use your biscuit cutter. I'm going to get my pan out. And then we're just going to cut right inside the edges. And lift straight up. So we'll have nice cut edges. We don't want to twist it when you raise the cup off or the cutter. Just pick it straight up. And then we'll have outtakes here. As you can see, I might be able to get one more here if I make it a little bit flatter. Probably can go ahead and do that. It's just going to be a teeny bit smaller on that one edge. See how it looks like it has a bite taken out of it already. But then we're going to roll the outtakes back up. We don't have to go through the whole song again. We just want to press it together, pat it, and then straight down. It looks like we're going to have 5, and then this biscuit's not going to be quite big enough to make the same size of biscuit, so we're just going to pat it together. Get up those little floury bits. Press them a little bit flat. Then I just take my glass and go right around the edge and just barely cut the edge. And do that on all the edges. So we have those nice cut edges. And there we go. He's a baby one. And then we have our biscuits. If you like the edges to be a little more firm, bake them like this. If you want them to touch so that you kind of pull them apart, then you would bake them, maybe just barely not touching so that when they rise up, they'll end up touching and then they'd be more pull apart. So I'm gonna spread mine apart a little bit more and bake them like this. And our oven's already ready at 425. I've baked mine in this oven before and I know it takes 14 minutes, but I always start off with 11 or 12 if it's a new oven and you don't know how hot it bakes. But we're going in for 14.
There we go. Looking pretty good. We'll check their bottoms just to see if they're brown on the bottom. Here they are. And they have that nice crack on top, so we know they're done.